Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Madden. I'm Max, your host, and trumpets, and yes, Roxy is back. She is back and on her way to recovery, and we are all holy. We are all very happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Hi, Roxy.
Hi. Yeah, I'm still not feeling 100%. There was a week-long illness, and there's some residue still hanging around, and it's kind of very strange because it was an ass kicker for sure. I mean, it laid me out, you
Hmm.
know. So, but got through it and feeling better. Yeah. How are you?
Well, enough to be talking, so to be up, and so that's already great, right? And then, well, I'm now. I mean, personally, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm great. There's absolutely. I'm just uh, on the edge about my husband.
Yeah.
He's at the hospital with a um, heart condition, which is not threatening because it was taken. He went to the hospital soon enough to be taken care of without any danger, life dangers or anything like that. But I mean, it touches the heart, right? And when it touches the heart, is always a very sensible spot, organ,
Sensitive.
that
Yes.
sensitive, yeah, where you never know. And so even though it's fine and the doctors, right, there is no urgent matter, you still are on the edge because you say it's still the heart.
Exactly.
And that's his thing. And so, yeah, we have to wait now as he's in a room and very well taken care of. And I mean, we have, and that's one thing I think that we can say about here in the United States is that we have very good hospitals. Whether then they take care of patients or not, that's another question. But as of having good hospital and good cares that are available to us, that is there. So when you know that that is available and happening, you can have a little bit less weight, or right, less, being less um, scared or fearful, right? Those things that, whether you want it or not, when you have your husband, your wife, someone so close to you that is at the hospital, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
You're, and we were talking something about this last time, right? And it's very interesting because all as this was happening, I've been very careful not to get in the middle of procedure or of anything, keeping myself, right, staying in me and not getting in, right, cracking down. And so that then I'm not the one that is at the hospital, so I'm fine. I'm going to break down,
Right.
right? It's and I think that for the person that is in having the condition is also helpful because they fear for themselves, but then they are also fearing for their beloved not to get, right. You say you're
Worried,
silly.
anxiety. Yes.
Yeah, but it's silly because they're the one at the hospital, right? They're the one having the condition. So, um, but I could see and I can feel how important it is when the person that is having these uh, operations, procedures, or all of that happening, to see that the people that are around them are keeping up, and keeping going and supporting them, but not being breaking down. It's important. And I think it goes to what you were saying last time. uh, it supports, and you free energy, you free the you allow the situation to unfold without being in the middle,
Adding to it,
adding to it. Yeah.
you know, if you add the, uh, if you add, well, what are you putting into the vortex, or what are you putting into that moment? If someone is already stressed and you're reinforcing that, then you're heightening the experience of that co-created reality. If you're allowing reality to play out, participation on your side, on you, is nothing to do with it egoically. If you're there vibrationally, however, you offer, you know, natural support, natural love, just by the presence of things without your intentional mind pouring into the now of that co-created moment. Lack, anxiety, fear, they already have enough of that. They don't need any more. And usually loved ones are in a panic and things like that because of course they're fearing loss. They're fearing something, whatever it may be. It's like someone solicits you and says, "Hi, Max. Can't believe what happened to me. Blah 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 and blah 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 blah," and it's a total pity party. So as they're soliciting sympathy. So if you give them sympathy, you're reinforcing their pity, you know. Or you can say, "Well, that's great for you. That was a wonderful experience. I'm glad you enjoyed that." You're not giving them the sympathy. You're not playing to the vibration to reinforce it. You're accepting their reality by good for you, but you're not adding to their own energy that they're seeking. And see, that sustains a moment. It continues in the vibrational, ever changing now, 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 that standardization. It's like misery loves company. When you have someone that's miserable, they keep looking at reality as miserable. They don't attract misery realities, they interpret miserable realities. What they attract is change. And whether they choose to see the change within themselves, to see reality different, is irrelevant to anyone except the singularity doing that. So that uh, reality is being validated by you or the person that's miserable, and most people continue that. So when I have a person that is living a life of truth, I like to give them the space to discover themselves. So you be in a space of godly, of total allowance. It's like a garden of the gods. You provide them with a garden to play in, to feel themselves, to become alive in. And
Yes.
you don't reinforce what they're already feeling. They already know what they're feeling. So, and sometimes, you know, the victims, the ones that are still, want sympathy. And I understand that. You know, when I went to the hospital last Friday, I was in a lot of fucking pain. And I wanted them to know, hey, I'm in a lot of freaking pain here. Can you guys start doing something about it? I wanted them to acknowledge that I was in pain, but I couldn't do anything about that. So I just have to trust now. And then, of course, it played out. I was taken care of a lot better than I was taken care of the first time back in 2017. Yeah, totally, two total different vibrational Earths,
Experience.
two
Oh
totally
yeah.
different experiences at the same emergency room, just much better than this time around. They took care of me. So
That shows you also evolution, right? Not to
Yeah.
take and compare. It's you cannot really, because you're not the same. However, as you said, vibrationally is different. Yeah. It's what reminds you, look, Roxy, look the work you've done. Look how now you value yourself in such different way that now the experience is completely different.
Yes. And it's all
Even though,
about the
right?
experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
about how you're feeling about your world and every single now.
And I can testify to that, because when he had his first heart attack 11 years ago, something like that, the experience was completely different, but also the way it went, it was not like this time. It was not in danger, as the condition was um, find out quite in advance. You have to not be in the, you have 2 hours to say, when you have a heart attack, you have 2 hours to be taken care of. If you don't do that in those 2 hours, you're not, right?
Yeah.
um, and that was the experience the previous time, and it was much more scarier, because, yeah, I mean, right, that's the thing, is that he was in that 2 hour period, and if I had delayed, well, things would have gone differently, but he didn't. So he was taken care of. This time it's so different that it was seen before. So he is taking care, if you want, is in advance from the actual danger. So that is a completely different situation vibrationally, and but also now, right? We've been talking about the physical experience, right? The created experience. What I'm also seeing is what is happening with him, what is happening with you, as change, as, right, the changing earth, changing vibration, changing. It's the rebirth after death. It's a sort of death. You're having this, so that you enter into something new, something unknown, and I'm seeing this for him, and it's very much symbolic. I'm not talking about physical here, I'm talking about energetical, um, non-physical, to have it touching the heart, right, or having any organ or any situation, right, you can see that that is leading to something, to change something new. The physical doesn't change during pain. That's the thing, right? You don't take away that aspect, because that's what you're feeling, but you also know that there's more than only the pain or only the physical.
There it is. And it
So
feels
you
good.
let that play out.
You let it play out. I think the discipline of allowance is very underrated. We're so, as a collective, the human is taught to be in constant pursuit of something. It's a habit. There's no time, or you're wasting time, and time is critical and valuable. We only give so much time to live, and what you do with it is up to you. That's a that's a notion, and that notion spurs behavior. And that behavior is an expression of the now, which is putting into the vortex, putting into your will of the now, the truth of you, creating your reality, attracting your realities. And just those simple patterns that we look as commonality are truly creating realities, creating your reality, what you're putting in every day. And when you have a moment, an opportunity to step back and completely observe the reality and allow it to literally see how reality will manifest according to what it is already working on, what you're putting out, what is your truth about you. Now, mind you, when I say truth, of course, I'm speaking of vibrational truth, the algorithms that you are truthful about, that are in your always now self. And if you just look at something, just go back 10 years and then go forward 10 years and just know it's going to be the same unless you change. It's going to be exactly the same. And I don't mean the details, which is the confusing part for humanity. They look at the objects, the definements, the finites, things they can categorize as that's what life is. And that's the furthest thing. That is a reflection of life that's already been manifested. It's the interpretation and, of course, how you feel about life. That's what matters. So if you're feeling the way you're feeling now, get a good grip on how you feel every day, every now about life, and know that's going to stay the same until you change the relationship with these ideas. And opportunity to change is always present, never ceases. What can be understood as a vibrational habit, uh, which people pride themselves on. Oh, I'm like this. Oh, I'm like that. I could never do this. And this is what I am. It's just who I am. Those are built in, accepted realities. And the truth of it is, everyone is their own kingdom of undiscovered nows that are absolutely unconditional. And that's what they'll remain. Any of the conditionings put on by the human experience creates the experience of the human fractal. So, hence, you're always doing it to yourself. So, we have to take note of vibration and really pay attention to what are my truths, not my mindful truths, not that I'm a Republican or a Democrat or a Christian or a Muslim. We're not talking about the truths of polarity. We're talking about how I feel about things, how I truly feel in my heart of hearts about reality in the now. And that's when you start to learn the truth about yourself, what you're putting into your now, which creates your reality, creates your experience. If you're having a bad time with somebody because you don't like who they are, that's not them. That's the way you are interpreting your truth. That gives only one person that experience, and that's you.
Eve.
Creation is relentless. It will validate what you are. It will give you what you are. It gives you a way to feel the way you're feeling right now. That's what you got to see. If you're frustrated after 10 years and nothing's happened, it's because you're frustrated in the now. That means you have expectations. That means you have desires. That means you want change. That means you're lacking yourself. Why would anything change? It won't.
Yeah.
You have to change. You
Yeah.
have to change the way you feel about life, the way you feel about things. And you have to look at yourself with immense scrutiny and not bullshit yourself,
Yeah. Which
which
is
is
very easy to
difficult
do.
because
Yeah.
we're taught the entire emotional system that we've grown to live on is the only way of life. That's what life is. That's crap. Life is choice.
It is.
Life is choice. Go ahead.
I've so I could notice um, the difference in um, being in, right, having the experience, because obviously I'm not at the hospital, so I'm not the one having the condition, so I don't know what that experience is. It's not mine. My experience is this, right? This is my now. Um, and I'm there, I'm available, I'm supporting and everything, but still I'm not having the experience of being at the hospital. And so I'm having my experiences, and that's all I know. And I cannot even remotely say what is his experience, because it's not mine again, right? It's to recognize this is me, this is my experience.
Very good.
So what I'm noticing is the difference, and is um, the what this awakens my fears, my belief systems, my attachment, and these kind of things that these experiences awakening, right? It's making me recognizing that, and at the same moment, I'm also able to recognize how, as right human, I'm more in the experience. So in the allowance, in the this is what is happening. I'm not going to resist the experience. I'm going to accept the experience. Of course, you do not want to have any your beloved one at the hospital, but when it's happening, it's happening. So you have the choice of opposing reality and going into a breakdown or a panic attack or anything like that, or being consumed with fears and all of that, or you choose to accept the moment, accept what is going on. And again, in that moment, what you're doing, it's a completely different vibration. When you choose to be in your, let's say, power, then what is happening is that you are more in the moment, so you are more there. And being more there doesn't mean spending all your time in the hospital. Being there means that you are accepting and being in the moment. That's all it is. You're in the moment, so you are able to navigate the moment and accompany the moment. And that doesn't mean that, right, I didn't have fears or trauma or anything like that, right? I had those things. They manifested, and so also that needs to to right to be acknowledged and to be in that. And as yesterday I was doing the crystal balls, I realized that I needed to not just do the crystal balls, because I was not able to do the crystal balls, but I had to use that in order to acknowledge what was awakened in me, and go and allow in that moment a taking care of the moment, allowing come in and let's have a healing experience around what has happened, because I recognize if I don't do this, I'm I'm just not right recognizing that I'm also having an experience. I'm also in it. and playing the strong, right? It's giving myself a identity of I'm strong. I'm gonna be the strong one doing this experience, carrying on everything, and that kind of thing, which is just right giving space to the ego. And then that's what they say, right? And then some days later you just break down because you are overplaying it and not recognizing that you're having an experience. And that was it's interesting when you observe yourself and you just then allow.
There is no greater tool than self-observation because it tells you
Yeah.
everything that's going on. But you must take a neutral approach. You must be in the humility of yourself to recognize what truths you are truly putting out, how those truths create your reality. And in those observation moments, you can recognize when you're putting your own ego into the mix, creating space for the ego to operate. And if you can recognize that, then you can also change it. Most people don't even have an idea of what they're doing to themselves. They think it's life. Every individual is creating their own reality. Every individual is interpreting their own experience. And just like when you were saying, he's having his own experience, you'll never know it. But you're still having your own experience. Just because it's not his doesn't make yours any less than,
Mm, exactly.
you know? It's still a valid reality because it's happening. So it draws the mind away from the tendrils of time and allows you to be more and more present when you don't move your loyalties into the external value we have for identity, like an obligation or a responsibility. How am I supposed to, what am I supposed to do here? Well, it's up to you. You have to determine how you experience your reality. Most of us is running on algorithms postulated from generations of here's how you're supposed to feel. Here's what you're supposed to do. When one generation looks at another generation and they're not acting according with their expectation, the older generation usually has a little bit of a conniption. The younger generation doesn't give a fuck about its conniption because it is change, you know? So instead of worrying about what the outside's doing, start looking at what the inside is. And that's that observer that we create that allows us to see our own true behaviors, the truth on what's vibrating. And then that'll reveal to you how you're creating your experience. No one ever had a bad time, and no one ever had a good time. They've always had experiences, and where they fit on the individual scale is up to each singularity of interpretation. There's no standards, there's no shared standards. Everyone's level of bad is unique. It exists. We can create that experience. We have the emotions to validate that. We have the body that will act in kind to negative situations, will manifest these realities of separation of negative times, positive times. But those are relationships. So if you have the insight, if you could not have the program running a bad time within your interpreted truth, then how can you ever have a bad time if you don't have the program that says that? It's impossible to get rid of. You mean polarity is the standard? Everyone knows it's not the standard because one man's trash is another man's treasure. We've seen how two people have a different point of view about the same situation. We've seen the value of that representation. That means each singularity interprets their own world. And if that world was interpreted only through the unconditional, then you would only see the reality of the unconditional. And that reality is discovered. It doesn't sit in an equation of comparison to our world of polarity. When you stop using polarity, then the unconditional will make itself known. And you'll understand how that feels. But that's not generated out of a posture of thinking. of comparison and formulation. It is a discovered reality. So the only way that I've found to get to it is take down the human, and what's left is the natural. And then we can start to feel that. You, your husband is a God, an eternal being, joining in with humanity and have a human experience, falling in love with you as part of that human experience. And he's in his own journey, his own bubble, his own life. And he shall, like you, continue. All the
Exactly.
people
And
from the past, they're all dead. They're all dead. Where are they? Living their lives in their
yeah,
particular nows, in their particular disciplines that they focus on. Everyone's forever. So make this life your focus, your now focus. Get the most out of this life instead of worrying about what's not happening. Start to look and observe what is happening and start changing your
absolutely.
What do you think?
I've noticed. I mean, if that is any confirmation or validation, support, I don't know. What I've noticed is that so far, this is the fourth or fifth time that he is at the hospital in some whatever condition. What I've noticed is that the condition always is solved. There's a solution that comes in. And even though they may have been any risk and I mean potential for him to leave, that the potential is there, so I know that the potential is played out. But I also know what is my experience, and in my experience, we keep going. We are both here. We are both having an experience, and this experience has carried us up until this now. So I know that we all have, right? Let's call them exit point. I mean, I'm talking like this, even though I'm always saying death is in the eye of the living, right? The dead are not seeing it. The experience is always the experience. The point of view is always of the one that is observing, right? The experience is that. So that's all we know. We don't know anything else. So we can only express what we know. But nevertheless, this is what my observation is, right? My experience. My experience is there are experiences that we have, and we are still here with new experiences. That's my experience. The detail, we can go through that, but it's not important. We have experiences, and here we are with new experiences.
It never stops.
It never stops.
It
Yes,
never stops.
and I think that to recognize that is important because
Very important.
when we go into fear, right? And yeah, the fear of losing him. Of course, I had that. I will be lying, or I will be really delusional of saying, "Oh no, I didn't fear that." Of course, I fear that. And then I also observed we're still here. We are here. My fear didn't happen. It was not in my experience. As I said, the potential is there, the potential is played out. I perfectly know that. But this is what I'm experiencing. And I have to acknowledge that because this is the reality, this is real. So then the question I have, what is loss? Can you really lose anything? Or is it a interpretation? Or anyone, I should say. Can you really lose anyone? Or is it interpretation? Or is it experience? Or is it what? I don't know. Well, what I know is what I'm experiencing. That I know for sure.
Which is constant. I think that's a good definition of love is we always have the abundance of reality. That's how much we love ourselves. So we keep filling every now with reality.
Yeah.
We're always experiencing. I think that's neat.
Yeah. And and then you always bring that back to you because you're having experiences. You're the one with the point of view. So you can only observe your point of view. You cannot know anything else because anything that you may believe it's someone else's is still yours because it's you observing it. So that's what you get. So what is that, right? These experiences are really you only, right, that's it. You have one point of view and it's yours. Yes, it co-creators are real. Obviously they are, and they are having experiences, point of view, and all of that, but what you are experiencing is still your point of view.
Isn't that amazing how some people in the awakened world, just because it's in the memory now, they automatically say, well, none of that was real. Because it's if the memory's created right now, your entire history is just a memory and it's never not real.
Hmm.
That's how quickly the mind is always trying to manage reality, to put it into a finite. And the one thing that creation has told us, it will never be defined. It's constantly stretching and changing. Constantly. Creation is always letting you know, I'm changing. It's humans that stay the same. So reality is always happening. It's always real. It's always an experience. And it's always your point of view. I always look at people and seeing how they're upset because they see someone suffering. That person is putting off a vibration of suffering, or the animal. And it's very valid. Vibrational tacticians will tell you that if a person is emitting pain, you are interpreting that vibration, and in your world, it's painful. It doesn't negate that they are in pain. What it's telling you is you're interpreting pain. That's their experience, but it's actually your experience. Are they in pain? Yes. Is the animal in pain if it's getting slaughtered? Yes. But it's their pain. It's the animal's pain. Your experience with that is entirely up to you. You don't have to need to be in pain. You don't have to fix their pain. For God's sake, stop fixing people's pain. Stop. Offer them the love in the moment. You might be able to take away their pain in the moment. But if you're adding to it by feeling their pain, energizing their pain, then you're sustaining their pain.
Yeah.
You want to offer the change of acceptance, the experience itself. When Tommy said to me, I think it was last Tuesday, it was after the day I had the chills and it was just horrific. I was just really bad shape. And I was trying to assess that, well, what was the cause of this? Where was the birth of it? And then he had said, it doesn't matter because it's happening. And I was like, oh my God. I just took myself right back into the now with Tommy's words. It's like, doesn't matter how it arrived here, as I am living this.
Yeah.
So I had to see that everything is my now and I'm living that. And now I have insight to where to direct my energy, where to value my truth, what to put into my own behavior, which creates my experience, which sends the signal to attraction to bring me more of this.
That's absolutely fantastic.
It
And
is.
you know what I've noticed is that I think I told you I had this pain on my chest for days, and when I was waking up, I was waking up with the pain. I could do some Reiki, take it away. The pain was away. Then I was back to sleep and waking up with the pain back again. And for days it was like that. The pain stopped when I just acknowledged the pain, accepted the pain, and I said, well, I'm having the pain. I tried to take it away, but it keeps coming back. So what am I left with as an option is only one, is that let's just accept it, go into it, be it. Yeah. And that's when the pain then went away. It did not come back. I acknowledged it, accepted it with what anything that that pain is represented, whatever, it doesn't matter. That moment I just accepted it. And so with the acceptance, then the meaning of it or the being of it, well, it was played out, right? I became it. So it was ready to go and to play out, well, whatever that was. And yeah, it's so different from whatever, right? Yeah, I can hear you. You're fixed in the image, but I can hear you. Let me see. Everything else seems working. Yeah. Oh, there you go. She'll be back. Seems that the laptop gave some trouble. Yes. So as we're waiting, Roxy to be back, and so that experience of accepting whatever it is that happens, right? The pain, the condition is something that I've noticed not just on with that pain on the chest. I've noticed it in other situations where, whether it's a cold, whether it's um, burning my finger, not not to a terrible degree, but still, right, burning enough to. And when you burn yourself, it just lasts for some time. And I've noticed that I'm able to heal those conditions very quickly, especially after I had my Reiki. Um, how do you call it now? Reiki one. I did a Reiki one assessment, attunement. Sorry, and after that, I burned myself in the oven, and it was right a burn. So it generally it takes 3-4 days to get better, and it keeps burning, right? It was healed in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I was okay. The burn was gone. And so these are the things that now I'm noticing, that with the acceptance, with the work, with uh, what, what I'm doing, I'm able to have then a speed up, or a let's say healing process that is faster, because there is no need for another condition, right? To another situation. It's working quite well. And so accepting the condition, accepting the moment, is the base of all of that, because it brings that thing, right? You're just playing it out. You're not working against reality. Oh, Roxy is back.
Yeah, I went
And she's moving.
ahead and joined on my phone. For some reason, I think my laptop got hot. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can hear you okay. I can see you, and you're moving, so it's working.
All right, keep going.
No, I was just to feed you up. I was just saying, right, that my experience with healing myself, concerning when I burn myself, I'm here, depending of how severe it is, but a normal burn, I can heal it in 15 minutes. I'm done. It's gone. Whereas normally it might take 2, 3, 4 days to get better, right? I'm noticing that accepting and doing the work, I'm using the Reiki thing, but I'm also able to do the Reiki without doing the Reiki, right? That this acceptance of what is the moment is really the key for any healing
First step,
process, right?
Huge. When the Christ conscious people, he didn't see them as sick. He didn't see them as sick. He didn't have the ability to see them less than. He saw them as whole. He saw them healthy. He saw them beautiful, which allowed those persons to accept that within themselves, and the healing can occur. You know? So I think what you just said is vital. A total acceptance of the reality. Oh.
Absolutely. What we tend to do is to resist, to oppose. I don't want this. I don't like this. Why is it happening to me? Tell me why.
Explanations. That was the age of reason. When we came into the age of reason, we start explaining things. There's no reason to explain anything. What's there a reason to explain? Because it's happening. Well, because the ego likes it. The ego really enjoys it. Because it's an identity. If there's a reason for something, when I wanted to know why I got sick, it would give me a sense of satisfaction. That doesn't take away I'm sick. So live what you are every now. And that'll tell you about it'll speak volumes of intelligence about reality by being the now about it, the total acceptance of it. And it gives you opportunity to learn. It gives you opportunity to feel vibration instead of always interpreting vibration through what it means or doesn't mean. What's the reason behind it? Where can I assign it to? We're always constantly reinforcing reality that needs to be explained. Someone said, explain to me why. It's like, fuck you. I don't need to explain anything to you. No matter what I say, it's still up to you how to see it. I don't explain myself. Ever.
So I don't know. Explain. Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it. Do you have proof? Yeah. You just gave me proof that you are an idiot. Thank you.
People need others to tell them the truth, to sell them. You don't need to sell anyone anything. Listen to me, people. Pay attention. You never need to sell yourself to another. You are not worth your own negotiation. You do not need others' validation. You must learn to validate yourself. You must learn to validate yourself. That your own existence is already worthy. You are present, are you not? What's going to take away from your presence? Only your fears. What manipulates you? Only your fears. The truths that lie in the idea of externalism. The truths of fear. If you didn't have any fear, you wouldn't have any lack. You would be creating a reality. With or without your lack, you're creating a reality. What happens if you removed all of your lack by depleting all of those fears? Realizing your own worthiness doesn't need to be sold. You don't need to be validated. You're enough because you're fucking existence. That's something to be understood.
Yes. That's what is that's one of the difficult point, right? For many of us is to accept our value, that we are worth, and that there is no other way to see that, right? That's what we are. But gosh, to recognize it, to accept it, to stop fighting for our own lack and our own
Isn't that funny how we fight
things.
for our own limitations? But we don't know we're fighting for limitations. We think we're fighting for our truth, what shores us up as identifiable. You're challenged by a person. So let's talk to someone out there, anyone that's listening that has this truth, that Black people are the demise of America. So be that truth, that Black people are hurting you because of their color. Be the truth of that. Totally accept that that's how you're creating your reality. It's not the Black person that's doing it, it's you doing it. Let's say gay marriage needs to be repealed. We need to repeal because it's demoralizing humanity. Is it your world saying that? Is it your world saying that? Who's saying that? It's not the standard. You're not any less because the world is doing something. What you are is validating your truth and experiencing your reality.
That's how you're creating yourself. Can you imagine if you never grew up with the coveted story that gay marriage is illegal? That shouldn't be a thing. What if you never had that input? What if you never got that? What if you were born in 20 years from now where gay marriage is law? And you were never introduced to the idea of not marriage. That was only for male and female. You were never introduced to that idea. How could you have a problem with it? See, that's a recognizable belief system that you bought into. It's not your fault. That's the belief system you cultivated because of the environment you grew up. But you have the ability to make a difference. You can accept people that are choosing to be in love with each other, same-sex marriage. You can accept black people and brown people and me, a white woman, transgender. You can accept it because I'm not doing anything to you. I'm not harming you. You're creating your reality, interpreting me, interpreting black folks, interpreting Christians and Muslims and political parties. You're creating your world. Why? Because you're worth it. You're worth your experience. You exist. But now you have choice because you can see. Now that takes a very mature person to swallow all that pride. One of the 7 deadly sins. And we pride ourselves on our identity. You don't need to be shored up and validated because your existence already tells you you're enough. So those belief systems are cultural beliefs, are environmental beliefs, and the enlighteners who have the will to take down their own beliefs and not be mad that they thought that way at one time and don't hold themselves in regret. But see, that's the experience of separation. So they can have that truth and understand separation and its validity. But it also realizes that's choice, and you can mature through that and past that and represent that change. Not forced change, not political change, not preacher change, not lawful change. No, not that. The change of self-realization, the change of humility. That's the change that changes worlds, that changes vibration. That's what you want. Anyways, I think our time's almost up, Max.
Yes. We're yeah, we're done. We had a wonderful. This is wonderful
Always a good
discussion.
talk. We had a talk tonight too.
A good, very good talk.
You coming back?
Yes, in classes.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there. And I look forward for it as always.
Yeah.
And for now, we're going to say, where can they find you?
You can find me at odysseyofascension.com and Odyssey of Ascension on YouTube. That's my body of work for what year is this? It's 10 years. 10 years. Almost 10 years, not quite. Really good work. It's there for anyone.
Yes.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, I'll call him. So let's wrap it up. You can find me breakfastwithmax.com and YouTube Breakfast with Max. And so for now, we say
thanks all for joining in. We'll
thank you for joining in.
And thank you.
And thank you, Roxy, too. And we will be seeing you next week. Bye-bye. Oh, no.